Hey guys, welcome back. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, I'm in Luminar Neo again, working on a landscape from Iceland. And in this case, I'm using a couple of the new extensions in Luminar Neo, which for me basically save the photo. And I'm able to get a usable file out of a file that may or may not have been that great, to be honest. And that's my own fault. And frankly, a little bit of my lack of experience. Let me show you the image. Here it is. This is Kirkjufell, which is a very famous Iceland, a waterfall and basically landscape shot in Iceland. Millions of people have this photo, and I have this photo too. But in this case, when we showed up, it was completely dark. It was so dark. The landscape, I could almost not see anything. I could hear the waterfall. I could see the outline of the mountain there. But because it's a 30-second exposure or thereabouts, I've got light in it. I had trouble focusing. It's hard for me in low light because of my eyesight. I can see far great, but trying to make sure through my viewfinder and all that, if it's in focus, it's just a challenge. So not the best raw file, but I end up with a really nice result. And a lot of that's not just the power of the filters and the masking and all that in Luminar Neo, but also because of the extensions. So here's the base image, and the first thing I'm going to do is go into noiseless raw, and I'm going to go high. And the reason why is because it was ISO 2000, f2.8, about 30 seconds, I think, 16 millimeters, so about as it is as wide as my wide angle lens would go. And like I said, it's an okay file, but it's definitely noisy, and so the noiseless raw is helping me out quite a bit here. So if I zoom in here a little bit, let me go to 200. There we are. And if you look at the before, there it is. You can see, I mean, it's not massively noisy, just to be clear. It's ISO 2000, so this isn't some ISO 50,000 kind of craziness, but I don't really like noise. I want to get rid of it. So there it is before, and there you can see quite a bit smoother and nicer looking, and that's because of noiseless raw. So I love having that built in, and it just helps me control that noise in my images so well. Now I'm going to pop in here to develop raw, and I am going to bump the exposure a little bit. Going to add a little bit of contrast as well, and then pull down the highlights, and I think I go about a -40 or so here, and then I'm going to lift the shadows about maybe a 20. So as you can see, I'm already getting much better visibility into the image, again, because it's such a long exposure, even though it was basically black, except for some of the sky, which I could see a little bit of that color in the sky, not a ton, but it looks a whole lot better now. So I'm fine with that. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And while I'm working on the light, one of the things I like to do is just go into super contrast, because it's pretty amazing at doing all the things that I want to do to a photo. And so I'm going to go ahead and make some adjustments here so that I can get the light basically further refined to my liking. So I'm going to say about a -19 or so there. And I think here I do like a -50 or so. So something about like that. And as you can see, it's much brighter. I mean, that's the power of super contrast, because it isolates the various tonal areas, highlights, midtones, and shadows. You can take a photo that looked like that, and again, doesn't look like it was shot in complete darkness, but it was. But that, and now with a little bit of super contrast work and some stuff in develop, I've got a much more usable file in terms of my visibility into the image. One of the things that's lacking is it's not very sharp. So I'm going to go back into develop the second time here. I'm using it. I'm going to add some sharpness of about like 33 or whatever. I'm going to get a mask, I'm going to get a linear gradient, and I'm going to draw that just across here. All I'm trying to do is get a little bit better looking amount of sharpness in the photo. And again, it's partly because it's kind of soft. My focus was probably off a little bit. It happens, low light, you know, again, I didn't expect this to be like the iconic image of Kirkjufell. There's already dozens of those, hundreds of those probably, but I wanted to have a good image, and I feel like I got there at the end. Let me zoom in. Okay, here I am zoomed in 300, and you can see there it is before the sharpening, and there it is now. So that sharpening helped a little bit, but honestly, it's not that crisp. So you can probably imagine which extension I'm going to use. I'm not going to use it yet. First, I'm going to go into toning, because I do want to adjust a little bit of the color in the sky. I want to bring that up, and I go to about a 50, and the hue that I use is about a 17, and I'm going to take advantage of Mask AI, and I'm going to select the sky here, isolate that color adjustment, because I honestly feel like I have enough warmth already in the foreground, all the land and that sort of thing. So I just want to grab this sky and stick this color adjustment into that, and boom, there it is. I love that. And so now I can just come in and further refine it if I want to, but that's what it was before. And there it is now, just a little bit more color in it. Now, while I'm at the in the sky, I'm also going to go to Structure AI, and I'm going to do about a -35, and I'm going to do the same thing, which is to stick that into the sky, which is further just kind of smoothing out the clouds, but it also helps mask some of that noise. So I've done that, and while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and use Structure AI again, this time positively, and I'm going to do about a 30, and I'm going to get a brush, and all I'm going to do is brush this into some of the land, because I want to give that a little bit of punch, a little bit of crunch, and also Structure AI gives it a little bit of brightness. So you just got to be careful. But anyway, let me go ahead and mask this in and show you how it looks. Okay, so something about like that, where I've just painted that Structure AI into basically the landmass. I don't want the sky, I don't want the water affected, but if you take a look at it before, there it is. You can see it's a little less crispy and a little darker, and after, a little bit more crispy, a little bit brighter. That's what I love about Structure AI. Landscape, I'm gonna give that about a 15 or so across the entire photo. Gives it a little bit of that warm pop. I just don't want to overdo it because there's already a pretty good amount of that warm kind of color in the land. And I could apply this just to the sky, but I kind of liked it global. So I just went ahead and applied it across the entire photo. Color harmony is coming next, and I'm going to use split color warmth. And as the name implies, it allows you to basically split color warmth between the warm and the cool color. So I'm going to go a little bit warmer, which is to the right, so +5 on the warm colors, and that just amps them up just a little bit. And the cool colors, I'm going to go about a -30. And so this is actually taking the cool colors and making them a little bit cooler. So it allows you to separately adjust the warm colors from the cool colors, and it's giving me a nice color contrast. I've got a fair amount of warm stuff, and I got a fair amount of cool stuff. And so I kind of like that. And so that's before this adjustment, and that's after. You'll also notice it adds a little bit more blue into the sky because there is some cool in the sky, and I like that. And I want to accentuate that a little bit. This filter helps with that. Now, there's one thing I like to do to waterfalls, and that is I'm going to get into develop and get the mask. And I'm going to have, let's see, actually I need to click on brush and paint, and let me get a smaller mask. So something about like that, and all I want to do is paint over these a little bit, just where you see the water kind of falling. So maybe about like that on that one, and I'm going to do a little bit over on this one as well. And now that I've got that in place, if I show you the mask, there it is, just highlighted those two waterfalls. And I'm going to go to the adjustments, and I'm going to give them a little bit of a bump in exposure. In other words, just kind of creating a little bit more interest, a little bit more visibility into that. I'm also going to go into the whites and add a little bit of whites to that as well. You don't want to go crazy because you don't want them to be like blown out and really like hot, so to speak. But I definitely want to warm them, not warm them up, but brighten them up and make them a little bit whiter overall. That's what they looked like before. Definitely darker and a little bit bluer. And now they look more like a waterfall. They look whiter. And brighter. So that's what I was looking to do. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go into the other extension that I want to use here, which is Super Sharp AI. And again, that's because it's not super sharp, truthfully. And so it's got this motion blur option. And this was mounted on a tripod. Like I said, it was maybe 30 seconds mounted on a tripod, and you wouldn't think that motion blur would help, but it was super windy. I mean, it was cold, it was windy, it was dark, it was everything that makes it really hard to take a nice, crisp photo. And I'm gonna use motion blur because it actually helps, even though it was shot on a tripod, and I was basically holding on to the tripod and kind of pushing down just to try to combat the wind. And even despite all that, I feel like it's a little bit soft. So I'm gonna let Super Sharp AI run its AI intelligence across this image and see how it works for me. Okay, Super Sharp AI is done. I'm gonna zoom in 300 and we'll just take a look at some of this stuff here. And if you look at these rocks, you can see they're kind of blurred, to be honest. Like I said, this is not the greatest output that I've ever created with my camera, but it's kind of blurred, and now it's a bit sharper. It really is. Let's take a look at these rocks here as well. If you look at the before, slightly blurred. I mean, not great focus there, and now I think it looks a lot better. Super Sharp AI really helped, I think, and when you back up, I think it looks a whole lot better. I mean, overall, it's just a crisper and better looking image. And I think super sharp AI combined with noiseless AI just really helped me out here quite a bit. I'm gonna wrap this up with a vignette. And in this case, I'm gonna do like -40 something and a size of right there, about like high 20s. Choose subject down here, right around there maybe, something like that, and add a little bit of inner light, maybe about like that. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna lock that in. I'm gonna maybe pull this a little bit and do a little feathering as well. And if you look at the before and after on the vignette, there it is before and there is after. I like the vignette because obviously by definition it kind of darkens the edges, but it feels like it puts a little bit of a wrapper around the photo, tightens it up a little bit. I don't know, I just like how vignettes look, and having inner light is just like the best thing ever on the vignette tool. So again, there it is before and there it is after, and that's my full edit. That's the before image before we did anything with it. Obviously too dark, colors aren't popping, limited visibility, some noise, not very sharp, all those kind of things. And now much more vibrant image. I've reduced noise, I've gotten it sharper thanks to Sharpen AI, and of course the noise reduction because of noiseless AI. And I feel like now I've got a photo that I'm proud of. And a lot of that comes down to having those two extensions being able to allow me to get to the result that I got. That's how I'm using them, at least in this photo, and I'll be back using them in more videos as well. Wanted to share that with you. Hope it gives you a good idea of what you can get out of these tools. And by the way, if you enjoyed this video, check out that recent video I did showing my advanced landscape editing workflow. Lots of tips and tricks in that one in case you want to check that out. Thanks for watching, my friends. I'll be back soon with more videos. You guys take care, and until then, adios.